I'm Tanya Terry with the Flint Courier News. Today we have with us a very special guest, Dr. Karen Weaver. Dr. Weaver is of course the former mayor of Flint. She also recently became the executive director of the African American Mayors Association. She remains in the forefront in this city and has taken part in numerous protests regarding the water crisis settlement. Welcome, Dr. Weaver.
Thank you, thank you.
So I know we had an opportunity to talk on yesterday,
Yes.
and you said you would be speaking to an attorney. How did that go?
Well, you know what, actually, the person that I spoke with this, today you mean? I spoke with a person, and he is president over a watch group. And what he talked about was the fees that these attorneys are charging in this water crisis settlement. And one of the things he said is in a settlement of this size, that's an exorbitant fee. You know, to get $202.8 million of this settlement, that's almost $203 million, we might as well say. And to wanting to fight that, you know, and saying that fee is just outlandish and that money should go back into the settlement for the people. And so that was the conversation that I had this morning. And I mean, I have to agree with them. I mean, you have to agree, even though I still say, which is something I've always said, is that this settlement is not enough. It's not enough money to be split between 80 to 100,000 people. But one of the things this group is saying is that that money should go back into the pot, and that typically in a settlement of this size, if you get between 17 to 20%, that would be a good size. That would be a good amount for the attorneys to make. I mean, you think about that. They're getting more than the victims. The attorneys get more than every single victim, including the ones that have lost a loved one to Legionnaires. And so, and where do you see that happen? Where do you see it happen that the attorneys get more than the victims? You know, it does not add up. And so that was the conversation that I had. And I know that is going to be pursued by people.
Okay, that's good to know. We've heard the proposed settlement amount is $641 million. What are the pros and cons of accepting this settlement, and what options do residents have? Okay,
so, and you know what, I'm going to stop right there, because one of the things that I keep saying is we're going to talk about the real numbers. Because that's what they have in the paper, and that's all you ever hear is the 641 million. But when you take away 202, 203 million, we're really talking about, you know, a little bit over $400 million for the people. And so, you know, there's some options, and the options that people have, and time is ticking, let me say that, because we just have until March 29th to do this. You can opt in and say, I'm happy with everything. So you can do that. You can opt in, but you can opt in with objections. And an objection could be something as simple as what the president of this group was talking about earlier. I think the attorney's fees are too high. I think we need more time. You know, we need more time to get the testing necessary, or that they're requiring, the documentation. You could say something, another objection could be there's too much documentation required. It could be, I don't even know how much I'm getting. You know, and that's what's really different about this, is people don't even know how much they're getting. If you have not lost a loved one, you know, that's where the amount of money has been laid out, and you know what you're getting. But other than that, you don't even know how much money you're getting. And for many of the adults in this case, they'll be lucky if they get $400 to $500. So those are different, you know, forms of objections that people could have. And then the third option is you can just say, I don't want anything to do with this, and opt completely out. And then you're on your own if you want to get an attorney. But you have to do something. A decision needs to be made by the 29th of this month. Otherwise, you're completely out.
Okay, so that's coming up very soon. The effects of Legionnaires are addressed in this settlement. Mm-hmm. So what is not addressed in this settlement or acknowledged?
You know what, one of the things that we've talked about is some things that will be happening. You know, we were in this public health crisis. We don't even know the full ramifications of what we're dealing with. And that's what we've talked about, because it takes time for things to manifest themselves. It takes time to get the data that's required, that's necessary. So we might find out in 2 or 3 years that, oh wow, there's a cohort of people that are dealing with this kind of physical illness. This is what's been manifested. Well, the lawsuit is over at that point, and you can't get money. So that's something that could happen. And that's a problem. The other thing that's a problem is, we had people that died of pneumonia, but it wasn't documented as pneumonia. It wasn't documented that the pneumonia was tied to the water, because, when this first happened, one of the things they were saying was the water was good. So physicians weren't documenting different illnesses and deaths being related to the water. And so what do? What about when you look at the women that have had stillbirths and miscarriages, and they said how that went up as a result of the water, but it wasn't documented that it was because of the water. And so these are people that are left out. They can opt in, but when you don't have that kind of documentation that they're requiring, what are you supposed to do? How do you go back and get it? And I think another concern that I have is the office where the attorneys are was shut down for COVID for a number of weeks. And now all of a sudden we're supposed to hurry up and rush. March 29th is going to be here. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. But yet they were able to be closed. I talked to people that their grandson, a lady's grandson, had been on the list waiting to get an evaluation done since last April. She's just now hearing from them. When you look at the number of kids that have been referred for testing, the last time I checked, which was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, there were about 2,800 kids that had been referred so far. And at that point in time, they had only completed about 28. About 28. So there's questions, there's issues here, and it needs to be looked at. It needs to be reevaluated, and that could be an objection.
So how does participating in this proposed settlement affect the ongoing litigation for the water crisis itself?
So, you have to participate even to be involved. So, we're talking about these objections. If you don't opt in, you can't object. So I can't say, well, there's some problems here. I don't want to have anything to do with it. My problems won't get heard. And so one of the things people need to know is, if they file and they have objections, there will be a fair hearing date where your objections will get heard. Now, one of the things that the judge has said is that she wants to hear from the people, and that there will be enough time set aside for that. But one of my other concerns is the packet that has gone out, there's not even an objection form in there for people to say, I have an objection, here's what it is. So it's just, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. And one of my other concerns is, there was another attorney that I talked with that was from Rainbow Push, C.K. Hoffler, and she was saying how complicated and complex this settlement is. And so the average person doesn't understand a lot that's in there. She said, I've been an attorney for a long time now, over 30 years, and this is a complicated lawsuit. And I know that these attorneys have not gone above and beyond to communicate this information. Most of the communication has been through social media. We have a large segment of the population that's not on social media, that doesn't have access to a computer. We have a lot of seniors that they're not on a computer. And I think I was talking with you the other day when I said I got a call from a lady, and I've gotten several calls, and she said she got a call from someplace on Robert T. Longway saying I need to come and sign up for something. She had no idea about what they were talking about. And so I think there needs to be a better effort as far as communicating and getting this information out to people. And time is, today is the 10th now. It's the 10th. So doesn't leave much time for people to get the information, to get the documentation and those things. But I do want to say, and I've said this from the beginning, Tanya, really, that I'm not saying to opt in or opt out. I just want people to have information so they can make a decision about what's best for them. Do I opt in the way it is? Do I get my objections filed, or do I say, I don't want anything to do with this?
Okay. Now, I know we've spoken before
Mhm.
about how the water crisis has affected you personally as well as your family. Why is this so important to you?
We did speak about that, and because it's Flint, it's my home. I was born and raised here, and Flint is important, and Flint lives are important. And that's what gets me is our lives were not valued at all. For them to be able to have this water crisis, cover it up, because let's say there was a cover up because for 18 months no one knew what was going on in Flint but people in Flint. So, our lives were not valued. They weren't even worth $100 a day for corrosion control. Come on. That I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. And this is an injustice. It's a huge environmental injustice, and one of the things I've always said is Flint is about more than water and infrastructure. That it's about systemic racism. It's about systemic racism. And that's what this whole thing was about. And that's the bad part. I'm sorry, my throat just got very dry.
Okay. I figured it was that, or it was just very emotional for you.
Well, who knows, but I know my throat is dry, so I'm gonna keep trying to talk.
Okay. Now, if anyone has questions about the proposed settlement or about the form they received in the mail, they can contact the Flint Water Crisis Class Council. They have a hotline. That number is 1-866-536-0717. They're located at 1188 Robert T. Longway. And their email address is info@flintwaterjustice.com. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing before we close out?
This is just important. It really, really is. And like I was saying before, Flint's about more than water, and it's about more than infrastructure. This happened to us because of our race and our class. And that's what people need to know. At the end of the day, it's a form of systemic racism. And I've always said that they will shoot us, they will put their knees on our neck, and they will poison our water and get away with it. And that should not happen. And this payment is reflective of that. It's just sad because you think about it. You look at what happened at Michigan State with the gymnasts. And I'm not saying that they got enough money. I'm not saying anything like that. But what I'm saying is they got $500 million for between 330 and 340 individuals. Yet Flint is supposed to split a little bit over $400 million, less than what they got between 80,000 and 100,000 people. The math does not add up. It doesn't add up. And we need to be speaking out about this. And that's one of the things, I was doing it as mayor, but I'm doing it because I care about Flint. And I'm not going to stop speaking up and speaking out about this because it's not right. And when we see these kinds of things happening, we need to say something about that. So that's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm going to continue to do because Flint represents a whole lot of other places. We became the poster child for so many places around the country when you're talking about water or infrastructure or public health crisis. And I've got to say something about this second public health crisis we're in, this pandemic. You look at this. Our bodies were compromised because we were drinking poisoned water. And then here comes COVID. How many of us could have survived had we not been drinking poisoned water? How many of us could have gotten through this without as much difficulty physically had we not been drinking poisoned water? And those are the kinds of things I'm saying that this settlement doesn't take into account. This happened. And so it's a problem. It's a problem, and I know that we're worth the fight. Flint is worth the fight. Our lives are worth it. And we keep saying Flint lives matter, so I think we just need to act like it. We need to act like it and try to get justice for Flint.
Okay. Well, there you have it. That is Dr. Karen Weaver. And remember, we're not trying to tell you what to do,
Right.
what you have to do, or what you should do. We're just giving you information so that you can make the right decision for you. For the Flint Courier News, I'm Tanya Terry.